So yeah, let's talk about France. There were a lot of first times in France. It was my first social project, let's call it that way, or my first self-sustainable farm, my first non-hostel experience. It was also the first time that I was volunteering with someone else. I volunteered in a self-sustainable farm in the south of France, in Montpellier. Basically, I met this girl called Maddie, and she's now my podcast mate. I do like my travel podcast in Portuguese with her. We met in Lisbon in a meetup, and we said that we'd do a volunteer exchange together. And it sounded like one of those things that we say we're gonna do and we never do it and we never speak again. But we actually went and did it. We were planning to do it somewhere else, but we found this place in France and it was perfect. It was a self-sustainable farm that had its own resources. It would capture energy from the sun. It would have its own water pumping system, and they were also vegan. They were like a hostel, but they only really had a tipi, and then they would only have place for 2 guests. So the main focus of the farm was the community. It was called the cat farm, and then the volunteers were the cats. The main focus was to have the volunteers contribute to something in the farm. It could be something big, like building automated systems for, I don't know, the water pumps. To just what Maddie and I did, which was literally, we did gardening. If I'm honest, I didn't learn a lot about gardening, not as much as I thought I would, because it was the blind leading the blind. There was no one there that actually knew what they were doing, and we were just relying on Google. It was a great experience. I loved doing gardening. Right, this is our final day at the farm. We're finalising the last project. Putting down the fences around this beautiful patch. Look how beautiful it looks now. So from Monday to Friday we had to do our jobs. Each person would have their own projects that they would work on. But then we also take turns in cleaning and cooking. So there was roughly between 10 and 12 volunteers, and we had to cook for them. So Maddie and I paired, and maybe twice a week, or not even that, I don't remember now, we had to cook for everyone. Making some fried cassava, very popular in Brazil. It was a vegan farm, so we had to cook vegan. And luckily there was a person there, Emily. She was an amazing vegan cook, and she taught me a lot about vegan alternatives, alternatives to cheese, to milk. Things that I still carry with me. And I actually did another volunteer which was involved cooking in Estonia, and a lot of the things that I learned there I actually took to that place. So that's really cool about this life of volunteering. You take knowledge from here, from there, and then you just spread it around. I also spread a card game. It was definitely one of those experiences that you learn something and you take it, and then this card game became very popular. Every other hostel that I went to, I tried to make it stick, and sometimes it didn't. I'm sure the hostel in Bosnia is still playing the game. Maybe not. I don't know. So yeah, the cat farm was completely different as well in terms of the environment. We were not very far away from the city. You could get to Montpellier in an hour, or you could even get to Poussin, which was a little village nearby. We could just walk there for 20 minutes. But the farm itself, it was kind of isolated, and there was this intent to disconnect, to become more present, to talk to each other and learning. There is these sort of projects, they tend to have this sort of vibe, do you know what I mean? Some of them, not all of them. I don't want to say a hippie vibe, because hippies have a bad rep, but it's good hippie. It's getting disconnected, thinking about your life, and just focusing on talking to people, the animals, we had cats and chickens. You're in my way, meow. You're in my way. I can't weed if you lie on the weed. That's not gonna work. Focusing on the garden, and it was just a slower pace. which was really, really nice. I really needed it. We did have internet, but we had limited access to electricity, so we could only charge our phones during the day, and there was a lot of phones to be charged. And even though we could charge our phones, like, I was consciously trying to stay away from it. And I think when I started this volunteering, I was like off social media for about 3 or 4 days. I disappeared from Instagram, and then I came back and I was like, this is what I've been doing.
Show them, show them.
Get the first. High five. That's on roll.
Yeah, I was saying that I didn't want to call it a hippie experience, but in a lot of ways it was very hippie. Like, you couldn't shower every single day because, well, you could if you didn't mind having a cold shower, which I do. So sometimes I couldn't shower because there wasn't always hot water available. There you go, the 8 showers, the water saving rules. So it's saying to use the hand shower and not the overhead shower. Don't shower every day. Controversial. I mean, with this weather it's hard to not shower every day, but only wash hair if necessary. Shower cold if you can. Sometimes we'd smoke weed or have a space cake and, you know, have a bit of a rave party. Maddie and I especially, we were sleeping in like the lounge. It was like this hangar where they would like have the parties, and that's where the sound system was as well. So a lot of the times we had to wait until the party was finished so we could sleep. Actually, I could sleep through the music because I was so tired, but Maddie struggled a little bit. From that experience, Maddie and I became really good friends. Soon after, when did we launch the podcast? This was in June, and then in September we launched a podcast together. So again, it's like people making a difference in these experiences. And that is why a lot of people, because when I say I live in hostels, a lot of people feel a bit sad for me. And I'm like, even if I had the money to live in Airbnbs everywhere, because I could afford to pay for my stay in some places, but even if I had the means to always have a private accommodation, I would still choose to be in a hostel. Maybe I would be like in a private room in a hostel, but just because of the social aspect of it. Can you imagine how lonely it would be for me to be traveling around the world to places I don't speak the language, I don't know anyone, and I'm just literally sat on my own in the flat? And obviously I work in the flat, I don't have to go to work, or I don't have to go anywhere. It'd be really sad. I love the fact that I live in hostels. I love the fact that I meet a lot of people by doing so, and these people have literally changed the way that they have changed my life in so many ways. They have added so many things to my life. Even if, like, there's some people that I don't really speak to on a regular basis anymore, but they still made such a difference, and that's what makes this experience.
Bye.